Emily Carter was a young woman with a gentle smile and soft eyes, but very few people noticed her in the grand, busy hotel restaurant where she worked. She was a waitress, moving quickly and quietly among the tables, taking orders and delivering food with a polite, "Yes, ma'am," or "Right away, sir." The restaurant was a place of luxury and elegance, filled with chandeliers, shining silverware, and fine china. It was a place where important people came to eat: businessmen in sharp suits, celebrities with flashing cameras, and wealthy guests who ordered the most expensive meals without blinking. But Emily was just one of the many workers in the background, someone the elite crowd didn't really see. Emily liked to keep to herself. She wasn't loud or pushy. She didn't try to make friends or start conversations. She knew her job was to serve, and she did it well. She was careful to be kind and respectful, but she never attracted attention. Sometimes she thought people saw her as invisible. That was okay, she told herself. She didn't want trouble or drama. She just wanted to do her work and go home. But inside Emily's heart was a different story. Long before she became a waitress, she had a dream filled with music and light. Emily was not always just a waitress. When she was a child, she was known for something special. She could play the piano beautifully. She was a prodigy, someone with a natural gift that was noticed early by her teachers and neighbors. Her small fingers moved over the piano keys as if they were telling a story, and people would stop to listen in amazement. At school concerts and community events, Emily's music would make people smile, cry, and dream. She loved playing more than anything. But life was not easy for Emily. When she was 12, her mother became very sick. The illness took away the warmth and joy of their small home. Her mother used to encourage Emily to keep playing, to believe in her talent, but as the sickness grew worse, the music stopped. After her mother passed away, everything changed. Her father was a good man but had no steady job. The family lost their small house, and Emily's world turned upside down. Emily had to grow up fast. She stopped going to music lessons and gave away her piano books. There was no money for music now, only for food and rent. She took odd jobs to help her family, and eventually she found work as a waitress at the big hotel restaurant. It wasn't a glamorous life, but it was honest. Every day she woke up early, put on her uniform, and went to work. She smiled and served, but sometimes at night when she was alone in her small apartment, she would close her eyes and imagine the piano again. The hotel restaurant was a special place, known for its expensive meals and beautiful setting. At the center of the room was a grand piano, shining under the soft lights. Usually, a professional musician was hired to play the piano during dinners. The music created a peaceful atmosphere, soft jazz or classical pieces that floated through the air, making guests feel important and relaxed. The pianist was always someone with talent and confidence. Emily often watched the pianist from a distance, wishing she could play again but never daring to try. She believed the piano belonged to the elite, to the talented professionals, not to a quiet waitress like her. Emily's days were long and tiring. She carried heavy trays, answered endless questions, and managed the busy rush hours with a calm face. Her feet ached at the end of each shift, and sometimes she felt invisible, as if the important people around her didn't even see her. But she was proud of her work and grateful for the chance to earn her own money. She saved every penny, hoping one day she could return to music in some way. Her secret love for the piano was like a small flame inside her, never dying but hidden from the world. She practiced in her mind, remembering the feel of the keys beneath her fingers, the sound of melodies filling the room. Sometimes, during breaks, she would put on her old headphones and listen to piano music on her phone. It was her escape, her connection to a happier time. One day, as Emily wiped tables and moved quickly between guests, she noticed something unusual. The regular pianist, a well-known professional, was not at his usual place. The manager looked worried and spoke quietly with the staff. Emily learned that the pianist had canceled at the last moment because of an emergency. The restaurant needed someone to fill in immediately, but no one was available. Emily felt her heart race. She knew the piano was right there, waiting, but she also knew the guests were important and would expect the best. Who would want a waitress to play for them? She kept her thoughts to herself, afraid to even imagine stepping up to the piano. But her secret was known to a few close co-workers. One of them quietly told the manager, "Emily can play. She used to be a piano student." The manager raised his eyebrows, surprised but desperate. With no other choice, the manager called Emily and asked if she could play. At first, Emily hesitated. She wasn't sure if she could do it. She was nervous and scared. What if she made a mistake? What if the guests laughed? But then she thought about her mother, who always believed in her, and about the music inside her that never left. With a small nod, she agreed. As Emily walked slowly to the grand piano, all eyes turned to her. The elite crowd watched, confused and curious. Here was a waitress, stepping into a place they thought was only for professionals. Emily sat down, her fingers trembling slightly above the keys. She took a deep breath, closed her eyes for a moment, and then began to play. The notes floated softly into the room, gentle and clear. Emily played with all her heart, letting the music tell her story. The room became quiet, as if everyone was holding their breath. For a few minutes, the busy restaurant became a place of magic, where a simple waitress became a shining star. The music spoke of dreams, struggles, and hope, things everyone understood, no matter who they were. Emily didn't think about the guests or their wealth. She only thought about the music, the sound of the piano beneath her hands. For that moment, she was free. That evening was like any other at the luxurious hotel restaurant, except for the tension that buzzed beneath the surface. The restaurant was preparing for a private gala dinner, a very special event attended by the city's elite. Billionaires, politicians, celebrities, and influential figures had gathered for a night of fine dining, sparkling conversation, and elegant music. The air smelled of expensive perfume and freshly cooked gourmet dishes. Crystal glasses caught the soft light, and waiters moved swiftly in their crisp uniforms, serving with practiced grace. The restaurant's manager, Mr. Langley, was a tall man with sharp eyes and a quick temper. He was responsible for making sure everything went perfectly. Tonight was especially important. The guests were powerful and demanding, and any mistake could ruin the restaurant's reputation. Everything was planned down to the last detail, including the music. The grand piano in the center of the dining area was to be played by a world-class pianist, someone who could impress the guests with talent and sophistication. But just an hour before the event began, disaster struck. The pianist called the restaurant to say he was sick and couldn't come. Panic spread through the staff. Mr. Langley's face darkened. Without music, the gala dinner would lose its charm and elegance. The guests expected more than just food. They wanted an experience, a night to remember. Mr. Langley hurried around asking every musician in the hotel if they could fill in. None were available. Time was running out, and the guests would arrive soon. The pressure was immense. The staff began to whisper nervously, wondering what would happen. Emily was working as usual, carrying trays and attending to guests with her calm, polite manner. She had heard the news about the pianist and saw the worry on the manager's face. She kept her head down, focusing on her job. But inside, her heart beat faster. She had a secret, a talent hidden from the world. She had played piano as a child and dreamed of music, but life had forced her to put those dreams aside. A close friend and fellow waiter, Sarah, who had always admired Emily's quiet strength and kindness, noticed the tension and thought of Emily's hidden gift. She whispered to Mr. Langley, "I think Emily can play. She was a piano student once. Maybe she can try." Mr. Langley looked at Emily skeptically. She was a waitress, not a professional musician. Could she really play well enough to entertain the city's most important guests? He wasn't sure. But he had no other choice. The clock was ticking. "Emily," Mr. Langley called softly, motioning her over. "Can you play the piano? Tonight, I mean." Emily's eyes widened. She hadn't expected this. Her hands trembled slightly as she nodded. She felt a mix of fear and excitement. This was her chance, but also a great risk. She wasn't sure if she was ready. What if she made a mistake in front of these important people? What if they laughed at her? She swallowed hard but said, "Yes, I can." The manager hesitated but then said, "Okay, you'll have to start in 10 minutes. Don't disappoint me." Emily took a deep breath and nodded again. She felt a strange calm settle over her, as if something inside had awakened. She was about to step into a world she thought was closed to her forever. As the guests arrived, dressed in their finest clothes, Emily watched from a distance. The room was buzzing with conversation and laughter. The tables were set perfectly, with candles flickering and flowers arranged in elegant vases. Waiters moved quickly, pouring wine and serving appetizers. Emily kept telling herself to stay calm. She went to the piano and sat down. Her fingers hovered above the keys. She closed her eyes and remembered the lessons from years ago, the hours of practice in her childhood home. She thought about her mother, who had always encouraged her to follow her heart. She thought about the dreams she had put away, and the music still alive inside her. Slowly, she began to play. At first the notes were soft and gentle, like a whisper. She chose a piece she loved, Debussy's Clair de Lune. It was a beautiful, calming melody that seemed to float through the room. The music caught the attention of the guests. Conversations grew quiet as people stopped what they were doing and listened. Emily's fingers moved carefully at first, but then with more confidence. The music filled the room, wrapping around the guests like a warm blanket. The busy noises of the restaurant faded away. It was as if time slowed down. Some guests looked surprised to see a waitress at the piano. They whispered among themselves, curious and doubtful. But as Emily played, their doubts melted away. The beauty of the music touched something deep inside them. Emily's heart raced, but she focused on the piano. She let the music tell her story, the story of hope, loss, and dreams that never die. She played with all her soul. As the piece ended, the room was silent for a moment. Then, slowly, applause began. It grew louder and louder until the whole room was clapping. Some guests even stood up to cheer. Emily sat there stunned. She had not expected such a response. Her cheeks flushed with a mix of pride and disbelief. She looked around and saw faces shining with admiration. A famous opera singer wiped a tear from her eye. A Hollywood director smiled widely. People were genuinely moved. Encouraged, Emily played another piece. This time she added a touch of jazz, improvising softly, her fingers dancing over the keys. The guests leaned forward, captivated by her skill and passion. She could see that her music was breaking the barrier between the elite crowd and the simple waitress. Then, feeling brave, Emily decided to share something personal. She played an original composition she had written long ago but never shown to anyone. The melody was soft and hopeful, telling a story of a girl who had lost her way but found strength through music. The room held its breath again. When the final note faded, the guests erupted into applause once more. Emily felt tears prick her eyes. She had stepped into a world she never imagined she could belong to, and for a moment she was not invisible anymore. After her performance, Mr. Langley approached her with a surprised but pleased smile. "You did well, Emily." "Very well." Emily nodded shyly, still overwhelmed. The night went on with more music and laughter, but the guests kept talking about the unexpected pianist, the waitress who had stolen the show. Word of Emily's performance spread quickly. Staff whispered in the kitchen, and some guests mentioned it to the hotel's management. Emily returned to her waiting duties with a quiet pride, knowing her life might be changing in ways she could never have dreamed. Though nervous at first, Emily's courage to step up and play transformed not only the evening, but also the way she saw herself. The piano was no longer just a memory, it was a part of her future. When Emily first placed her fingers on the piano keys that evening, the room was full of curiosity and silent expectation. The elite crowd, people used to luxury, to perfection, and to the best performances money could buy, sat quietly, unsure what to expect from the waitress who had stepped up so unexpectedly. Many were skeptical. How could a waitress, someone who served their tables, possibly play at the level they expected? But as the first soft notes floated into the air, a remarkable thing happened. Emily started to play Claude Debussy's Clair de Lune, a piece she had loved since childhood. The melody was gentle, full of delicate emotions, and Emily poured all the feelings she had kept inside into each note. Her fingers moved gracefully, like they were telling a story, one that spoke of lost dreams, hope, and quiet strength. The room seemed to hold its breath. The clinking of glasses and soft murmurs stopped. Even the busy waiters and kitchen staff paused to listen. The music wrapped around everyone like a soft blanket, calming and beautiful. Emily's body swayed, slightly with the music, her eyes half closed as she focused deeply. This was more than just a performance. It was a moment of truth. She remembered the long hours she had spent practicing as a child, the times when music was her escape from a difficult life. She felt connected to her mother again, who had always believed in her gift. With every note, Emily told a story, not with words, but with music. At first, some guests exchanged surprised glances. They hadn't expected such talent from someone so quiet and unnoticed. Slowly, smiles began to appear. A famous opera singer sitting near the front quietly wiped away a tear, touched by the beauty and sincerity of the music. A Hollywood director leaned forward in his chair, eyes shining with admiration. Even the stern-faced business people softened, their expressions showing amazement. As Emily finished the piece, the room remained silent for a few seconds, as if nobody wanted to break the spell. Then applause broke out. It started quietly but quickly grew louder and louder, until the entire room was clapping and cheering. People stood up, some even whistling. The applause was not just polite, it was full of genuine respect and joy. Emily felt a wave of emotion wash over her. She had never played for such a crowd before, never felt so seen. Her cheeks flushed with a mix of pride and disbelief. She looked up and saw people smiling at her, eyes full of encouragement. It was a moment she would never forget. Encouraged by the applause, Emily decided to play something more personal, something that came from her heart. She shifted into a jazz improvisation, letting her fingers dance freely over the keys. The lively rhythm and playful notes brought a new energy to the room. Guests tapped their fingers on the tables, some even smiled broadly. The music was different, more modern, spontaneous, and full of life. This change in style showed Emily's versatility and deep understanding of music. She wasn't just repeating what she had learned, she was creating something new. The guests were captivated. They felt as if Emily's music was reaching out to them, inviting them into her world. As she played, Emily noticed the room changing. The usual distance between the elite guests and the staff seemed to disappear. The music created a bridge, breaking down barriers of class and status. For a moment, they were all just people sharing a beautiful experience. Then, feeling brave, Emily chose to share an original composition she had written years ago, but never dared to show anyone. It was a soft, hopeful melody that told the story of a girl who had faced hardship but found strength through music. The notes were simple but powerful, filled with emotion and truth. The guests listened intently, moved by the sincerity of the music. The room was silent again, hanging on every note. Some guests closed their eyes, lost in thought. Others sat very still, as if afraid to break the magic. When the last note faded, the crowd erupted into applause once more, louder and more enthusiastic than before. Some people shouted, "Bravo!" and "Wonderful!" The energy in the room was electric. Emily sat quietly, overwhelmed by the response. She felt tears pricking at her eyes. The music had spoken for her when words could not. She realized that her hidden talent, long buried by life's hardships, had the power to touch people's hearts in ways she had never imagined. After her performance, guests came up to her, congratulating her warmly. A famous music critic praised her skill and emotion, saying she had a rare gift. The opera singer who had wiped her tears earlier gave Emily a gentle hug. Even the hotel manager, who had doubted her at first, looked at her with newfound respect. That night changed Emily's life. The quiet waitress was no longer invisible. She was a musician, a storyteller, and an artist. Her music had crossed the boundaries of wealth and status, reaching deep into the souls of everyone present. As the gala dinner continued, Emily returned to her duties, but she carried herself differently. She was proud, confident, and hopeful. The piano was no longer a distant dream. It was a part of her present and future. News of her performance quickly spread beyond the restaurant. Social media buzzed with videos and stories about the waitress who had stunned the elite crowd. Invitations to perform at other events began to arrive. Talent agents and music producers expressed interest in her unique style and powerful story. Despite the sudden attention, Emily remained humble. She remembered her mother's words about kindness and staying true to oneself. She didn't want fame or fortune for their own sake. She wanted to share her music and inspire others who, like her, had hidden dreams. Emily's life was on the brink of a new journey. The piano had opened a door she thought was closed forever, and with each note she played, she stepped closer to the person she was always meant to be. After that unforgettable night at the gala, Emily's life began to change in ways she had never imagined. The music she played had touched many hearts, and word spread quickly through the city about the waitress who had surprised the elite crowd with her talent. Suddenly, Emily was no longer invisible. People wanted to know her story, to hear her music, and to see what she could do next. At first, Emily was overwhelmed by the attention. Invitations came pouring in, from small local events to more important concerts in beautiful halls. People sent messages online, encouraging her and praising her skill. The hotel where she worked received calls from event organizers and music producers, all interested in booking the piano-playing waitress. Emily felt excitement mixed with fear. She had never imagined her life could change so fast. She worried if she was ready for this new world. Her friends and family were proud of her. Sarah, her closest co-worker and friend, was especially happy. "Emily," she said one day during a break, "you're going to be a star. You just have to believe in yourself." But Emily wasn't so sure. She wondered if she could keep up, if she had enough experience, and if she could handle the pressure. She had spent so many years hiding her talent, and now the world was watching. Despite her doubts, Emily began to practice more seriously. She rented a small studio where she could play the piano every day without interruption. She worked hard to improve her skills, learning new pieces and composing her own music. Each day, she felt her confidence grow. Meanwhile, Emily's life at the hotel started to change too. The staff treated her differently now, with admiration and respect. Guests asked for her autograph, and some even requested her to play privately at their tables. Mr. Langley, the manager who had doubted her before, now praised her publicly. "Emily is not just a waitress, she's a true artist," he told a reporter. Despite all the new opportunities, Emily never forgot where she came from. She continued working at the hotel, balancing her job with her growing music career. It was important to her to stay grounded and connected to the people who had supported her. She also wanted to prove that talent and dreams could come from anywhere, no matter your background. One day, Emily was invited to perform at a famous charity event held in a grand theater. The event was attended by powerful people and was broadcast on television. It was a huge opportunity, but also a huge challenge. Emily felt nervous but determined. She knew this could be her big break. Before the event, Emily spent weeks preparing. She chose a special program that mixed classical music with her own compositions. She wanted to show the world not only her skill, but also her unique voice as an artist. She practiced for hours every day, sometimes late into the night. When the day of the charity concert arrived, Emily felt a mixture of excitement and fear. The theater was packed with an audience much larger than she had ever played for. Cameras flashed, and reporters waited for her to arrive. Backstage, Emily took deep breaths to calm her nerves. She thought about her mother, about the journey that had brought her here. She reminded herself to play from her heart. As she stepped onto the stage, the audience erupted into applause. Emily sat at the grand piano, the bright lights shining down on her. She glanced briefly at the crowd, then closed her eyes and began to play. Her fingers moved with grace and power, filling the theater with beautiful music. The audience was mesmerized. Emily's performance was flawless, but also full of emotion. She played pieces that reflected her journey, the struggles, the losses, the hope. Her original compositions added a fresh and personal touch that captivated everyone. During the concert, Emily's music created a deep connection with the listeners. Many felt moved to tears, some whispered words of praise, and others sat in thoughtful silence. The critics watching were impressed. After the concert, newspapers and online reviews praised Emily as a rising star with a rare talent and genuine soul. Following the concert, Emily's career truly took off. She began receiving offers to tour in other cities and countries. Music. Producers wanted to record her compositions. She was invited to collaborate with well-known artists and to perform at prestigious venues. However, fame also brought challenges. The pressure to perform perfectly was intense. Emily had to learn to manage her time carefully, balancing concerts, rehearsals, and her personal life. She missed the quiet moments she once had to practice and reflect. Sometimes the demands felt overwhelming. There were also moments of doubt and loneliness. Emily wondered if she was changing too fast or losing herself in the spotlight. But every time she sat at the piano playing music that came from her heart, she found comfort and strength. Emily also used her growing influence to help others. She began to speak publicly about the importance of pursuing dreams regardless of one's background. She worked with charities that supported music education for children from poor families, hoping to give others the opportunities she once dreamed of. Her story became an inspiration to many. People admired her courage to step out of her comfort zone and share her gift with the world. Emily's journey showed that talent could shine in the most unexpected places, and that with belief and hard work, dreams could come true. At home, Emily stayed connected to her roots. She often returned to the hotel restaurant, sometimes helping out with small tasks or playing the piano for guests during special nights. The hotel had become a symbol of her journey, a place where her hidden talent was discovered and celebrated. Emily's friends and family remained her greatest support. They reminded her to stay humble and true to herself. Her mother's memory continued to guide her, inspiring her to keep playing and sharing her music. As her career blossomed, Emily never forgot the power of that first night when she had stepped up to the piano. It was a moment of courage that changed everything, a moment when a quiet waitress became a shining star, and it was just the beginning of her extraordinary journey. Emily's journey had been nothing short of extraordinary. From a quiet waitress with a secret passion for piano to a celebrated musician admired by many, her life was transformed in ways she had never imagined. But as her fame grew, she discovered that success was about more than just applause and praise. It was about staying true to herself, inspiring others, and using her voice to make a difference. After the whirlwind of concerts, tours, and interviews, Emily found herself reflecting deeply on what she wanted her music and her story to mean. The bright lights and glamorous events were exciting, but she wanted to make sure her music touched people's hearts in a real way. She wanted to be more than a performer. She wanted to be a symbol of hope for anyone who had dreams but felt held back by life's challenges. One afternoon, as she sat by the window of her modest apartment, Emily thought about her mother, who had always encouraged her to keep playing, no matter what. Her mother's words echoed in her mind. "Music is a light in the darkness, Emily. Never stop shining." These words gave Emily strength, reminding her that her gift was a blessing, and with it came responsibility. Emily decided to create a special concert, one that was not just about music, but about stories. She wanted to invite people from all walks of life, especially those who felt forgotten or discouraged. The concert would be a celebration of dreams, courage, and the power of music to heal and inspire. She began to plan carefully. She contacted community centers, schools, and organizations that worked with underprivileged children and adults. She invited them to come to the concert, promising a night of hope and joy. She also reached out to fellow musicians, some well-known, and others just starting, to join her in this project. As the day of the concert approached, Emily felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. This was different from her usual performances. It was more personal, more meaningful. She hoped the audience would feel the love and sincerity she put into every note. On the night of the concert, the venue was filled with a diverse crowd. There were children from poor neighborhoods, elderly people who had faced hard times, young adults struggling to find their path, and music lovers of all kinds. The atmosphere was warm and welcoming, filled with anticipation. Emily took the stage with her usual quiet confidence. She began to play, but this time her music was softer, more intimate. Each piece told a story, the struggles she had faced, the moments of doubt, the small victories. She spoke between songs, sharing her journey openly, encouraging everyone to believe in themselves. The audience listened closely, some wiping tears, others smiling brightly. Emily's music seemed to reach deep into their hearts, reminding them that they were not alone, that their dreams mattered. Throughout the concert, other musicians joined her, adding their voices and instruments to the celebration. Together, they created a beautiful tapestry of sound, blending styles and cultures. The concert became a symbol of unity and hope. After the performance, many people came up to Emily to thank her. A young girl told her that she wanted to learn piano now, because of Emily's courage. An elderly man said that the music had reminded him of better days. Emily realized that her concert had touched lives in a way she had hoped. This experience inspired Emily to do more. She started a foundation to support music education for children in poor communities. She raised funds to provide instruments and lessons, believing that everyone deserved a chance to discover their talent. She also visited schools and community centers, sharing her story and playing music with the children. Emily's work was recognized by many. She received awards, not only for her music, but also for her efforts to make the world a better place. But for her, the greatest reward was seeing the smiles on the faces of children learning to play, the spark of hope in their eyes. Despite her busy schedule, Emily stayed humble and grounded. She continued to work at the hotel on special occasions, never forgetting the place where her journey began. She remained close to her friends and family, valuing their support and love. Over time, Emily's music evolved. She experimented with new sounds and ideas, always staying true to her roots. She composed pieces that told stories of resilience, love, and the human spirit. Her albums received critical acclaim, and her concerts sold out across the country. Emily also became a mentor for young musicians, encouraging them to follow their dreams and be brave. She understood the struggles of starting out and wanted to help others overcome obstacles. Looking back, Emily knew that her life had changed because she had taken a chance. Stepping up to the piano that night had opened a door she never thought possible. It was a reminder that sometimes all it takes is one brave step to change your story. Her story inspired many people, not just because of her talent, but because of her courage, kindness, and determination. Emily had shown that no matter where you come from, you can shine if you believe in yourself. And so, the waitress who had once served tables in a quiet restaurant had become a beacon of hope and music. Her journey was a testament to the power of dreams and the magic of music that can touch lives and bring people together. Emily's life was no longer about waiting for opportunities, but creating them. She had learned that true success comes from following your heart, staying humble, and sharing your gifts with the world. Her music continued to inspire, heal, and unite people. And in every note she played, there was a piece of her story. A story of courage, hope, and the beautiful power of a single moment that changed everything.